Welcome to Art Matters. I'm your host, Wayne Quackenbush, and today I'll be interviewing two New England artists. First up, I'd like to introduce you to David Poyant. Thank you for joining us here on the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And let's talk a little bit about what inspired you to begin your journey into making art.
Well, my mother passed away about 40 years ago. But one of the memories that I have of her is her sitting in her chair with all her embroidery thread, yarn, whatever on the side of her, and she'd be kind of sitting there doing this, watching Johnny Carson, at night.
Yep.
And I mean, so when I was kind of looking for something to do with my hands, I was kind of picturing her doing her work. So I kind of went out and picked up some embroidery thread and some needles, and that was kind of the start of it.
Now,
this all started, 3 years ago, right at the time that COVID started.
right, I was going to say that it was probably you needed to have something to do during lockdown.
Yeah, between that and, I was working at Lowe's at the time, and, it was, like I said, I was looking for something, something to keep my hands busy,
Right.
because you couldn't go out like you could before the COVID started.
Right.
So this kind of just gave me a venue to, keep my hands busy. And
Well, you must have had that tension working in a public place and having to be masked all the time and never knowing who you're going to run across and
exactly
what their condition would be. And
yeah.
so did you find the process calming?
It's very calming. The way we've got it set up at our house, I kind of go downstairs and I do my stitching, and my wife stays upstairs and she watches her housewife shows and that stuff, and it works out well.
Oh, so you don't do your stitching in front of the TV?
Well, I have my own TV downstairs.
Oh, okay.
So she can watch her shows and I can watch my shows,
Okay.
and everybody's
So
happy.
She's watching The Real Housewives and you're watching whatever
Yeah,
you watch.
Netflix.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it works out well.
And what, well, let's start by showing one of your pieces first. And
Okay.
we get an idea of what you do.
Now-
And you'll have to talk about it because, as you mentioned, a lot of times people would give you photographs, and you were painting originally. And what happened with that?
Yeah, nope. I just, kind of switched over. I was looking for a different medium. A lot of the pictures were, kind of photorealistic. So I wanted people to be able to look at the threads and tell and see that there was something different besides just a regular oil painting or latex painting.
But didn't you have
So-
like a commission and you did a portrait of someone and you handed it to the owner, and didn't the new owner say, how do I know that this is not the photograph?
Yeah, well, they were coming out photorealistic, and there wasn't necessarily a commission on it. I was giving my pieces away.
Yeah, I
at
was
the time.
using the commission in that you were doing it for somebody else.
Right, and probably about 3 weeks after I gave it to him, he came up to me and he says, "Look, I don't want you to get upset, but was that a photograph or was it a painting?" And that's when I basically said to myself, okay, if they can't tell the difference between it being a photograph or a painting, I was going to switch the medium. I went to thread and picked up the thread, and this is the final results.
Okay, but I think you're still going to have to explain to people, because I'm not sure if the TV camera can pick up the subtlety of what's actually going on.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're taking areas of color and stitching line after line after line, all hand stitched,
Yeah.
and you're replacing the color with the color of the thread,
Right.
and you're doing it.
It's
in,
all
in
done
every
by
area, the water on the whale painting, the whale itself,
yeah, the ship in the background.
sails and rigging, right? The
Yeah.
rigging is all thread,
Yep.
and the only thing that's from the original image that you worked with was the clouds,
Right.
and the sky.
Yeah.
So everything else is thread,
It's all thread.
and you're changing the color, and especially you're changing the texture.
Yes, because I mean, you can probably see. I'm going to switch over to one of these here. That a little bit more on this one here. When you're looking at the texture of the trees and the branches, and depending on how many layers of thread you're putting on like each branch, it brings it out. A little bit more.
It gives it dimensionality.
Yeah.
It makes it three-dimensional.
Right. So that's all done by hand. With it's just a matter of sitting there.
And if you ran your hand across it, you would feel the smoothness of the original photograph.
Yeah.
In the sky, but then everything else would have the texture of the thread, and some of it is built up, and it's almost like a old-timey term, bas relief. It's almost like you're building a sculpture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's unique.
Yeah.
I haven't really found too many artists that are.
Now, didn't you just have a show somewhere? And
we just finished. We had it started on January 11th, and it finished on March 24th. I had a show at the
literally yesterday.
New Bedford Art Museum.
Yep.
So I was very lucky. Suzanne, who's the curator over there, saw my pieces, and she offered me a show over there. And like I said,
so was it like a solo show?
Well, there was I want to say 4 other artists that were there, but I had my own room
Right.
over there, so all of my pieces were in one
Was there a
individual
theme? Were
room.
they all fabric artists?
No, I was the only fabric artist there. Most of the artists that were there were, I want to say there was 2 or 3 photographers that were there. There was one lady in particular who did oil, pieces, and but again, I was the only fabric artist.
You're a member of Gallery X?
I'm a member at Gallery X, and I have some pieces over at the Art Loft in Fairhaven. So I'm getting my pieces out there. I mean, this has all been since really the first of the year that I'm starting
and you've been
the
doing
marketing
this
aspect.
for 3
years.
3 years now.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, I've been lucky to get, a few of my pieces out there, and
you have, you said you use 3 different stitches?
3 different, there's, I want to say about 150 different stitches out there. I use 3, a long stitch, a short stitch, and the French knot.
Right.
I've been able to, kind of get the look that I want.
Yeah.
Just basically using those 3. But it's been, it's been a journey.
Those would be the same as if you were doing like a cross stitch.
Yeah, well, a cross stitch is another one. They're just kind of going corner to corner type thing.
How does a French knot work?
That's really just a matter of pushing the needle through, wrapping it around a couple of times, and then going through the same hole.
Oh, and then that
backwards.
it
gives you a bump, basically, inside there. So depending
I can see
on
how you would want to use that for texture.
Yeah.
And how do you decide on the imagery that you're working with?
There's a website called Unsplash, and they're photographers from all over the world, and they give you free access to any of their photos.
So that's like, yeah, so there's no copyright issues.
There's no copyright issues. And now with AI, a few of my newer pieces I've used, actually,
Well, the whale piece.
the whale piece, I used AI to generate that.
Did you tell the AI what you wanted and it made the picture for you?
Yeah, I just told it I wanted a whale breaching in front of a whale boat, and that's what they.
That's what you got.
That's not necessarily a whale boat, but I like the picture
No,
that came
yeah,
out.
yeah.
And what I've been finding through AI, especially if you tell it that you want a colorful picture of a whale breaching in front of a whale boat, it makes the colors more vibrant
and
contrasty. For
you
me
want
that's
the
been
contrast because you want to be able to make your color decisions
right
based on what's underneath.
Yes.
Now, how close do you try to get to what the original color was?
9 times out of 10 I try and hit it right on. Obviously that's one of the reasons that I picked the photo to begin with.
Right.
Was because I like the colors on it. But if I want to change any of the colors, I have that option as I'm going through it.
Sure.
Or if I run out of a certain color thread.
And this is very interesting in that you're getting a reflection and you're doing the reflection.
Yeah.
And the colors are a little different.
I've got, actually, I don't know if I can show the two of these
Well,
together.
yeah, put them side by each and we'll see.
Both of these are reflection pieces. The bridge, obviously, you can see
There's a completely different color choice underneath.
Yeah, so that kind of, but I like the reflection, aspect of different photos.
Yeah.
And that stuff. It gives it a great look. A little story about the bridge. I had a lot of questions, from people at the art museum. Where was that? And I had no idea because I got this one off of Unsplash.
Right.
And I had a gentleman come in one night and he says, "Oh, that's the Moniz Bridge."
Oh, okay.
And I says, "Okay, great." And
Now you have a title for your piece.
There was another young couple that stepped in right about the same time that we were having this conversation, and they confirmed it, that
Okay.
it was the Moniz Bridge. And then about a half an hour later, somebody else came in and we're having that same conversation again. And I told him it was the Moniz Bridge, and he says, "No, it's not." So this was the Moniz Bridge for about a half an hour. So
Okay. Well, we're going to have to kind of wrap it up, but we'll
Okay.
just take one look at that piece if Brandon can get up onto there. And this is a work in progress.
That's a work in progress. I've just kind of started with the, with the body right now.
Oh, that's really contrasty too.
So yeah.
That's almost like Maxfield Parish. I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
and-
so you get to see what that is.
But I mean the back, kind of shows all the stitching and that stuff.
Yeah, very cool.
And but that's kind of where it starts, and
Yep.
we go from there. That's about. I want to say maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of work just on the buoy. Most of these pieces will take me probably around 40 hours to complete.
Well, with that, we have to say goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming by and doing this, and thank you. Welcome to the show. We're here with our next artist, Jeannine Fernandes. Welcome to the show, Jeannine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, we met through a mutual friend, Holly Ferreira, recommended that we get in touch with each other, and it turned out to be perfect timing because you're anxious to give more exposure to your work, and also because, well, even though this is a timeless interview, we'll be celebrating March as Bigfoot Month at some point. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started your journey into the arts.
Okay, so I've always been exposed to art when I was growing up. My mother has an art degree. My grandfather, her father made signs, and my other grandmother did oil paintings and stuff. And so it's always just been, I've been around it for, my whole life growing up. And so we would do projects at home. My mom would guide me. So I had some background in it, and then a couple years ago, I started taking it more seriously and using it.
Did you like to draw when you were a kid?
Oh yeah. I always have like sketchbooks full of stuff.
What did you used to like to draw when you were younger?
I still draw. Like when I'm bored at work or whatever. Anything. I usually get on a subject and I'll just draw a whole bunch of things on that subject for whatever reason, like a study.
And you have a background in dance. That's how you met Holly, right?
Yep.
Belly dancing.
Yep.
So you work mostly in acrylics.
Yep.
And you like to explore the dark side, but keep it light with some humor to bring your viewer on a journry, right?
Yeah, I really like the idea of,
You consider yourself a storyteller?
I kind of like the idea of that because when I approach a piece, I usually am looking at it like a story. I'll have elements that I want to showcase or start with, and then as it goes and it progresses, I add new things. And sometimes I'm not planning to add them, and it takes a different turn to do something else. But I enjoy that process.
Well, artists will work it different ways. Some people like to pre-plan everything. Every single element is on the canvas or in the artist's mind before they even pick up a paintbrush. But your process seems to be more
completely
organic.
Opposite, yeah.
You're basically building. One thing I really enjoyed is how you're working with acrylics, but you're able to blend colors. That's kind of difficult. We want to start with showing pieces we can give people a frame of reference.
Okay, do you want this one first?
Anyone, this is up to you.
Use it flat.
Now there's a story behind that.
Yeah, I am interested. I have experience with tarot cards, so some of the things comes from that place. This was sort of like my interpretation of the Fool card. But I wanted something different than what you would normally see represented in the tarot.
You're literally representing a bad decision.
Well, the Fool can be foolhardy, or it could be a new adventure.
Well, staring straight ahead and jumping off a cliff is kind of foolhardy.
Yep.
Depending on what's in the bottom. I mean, it's very cosmic. I love your starscape and your cloud nebulae or whatever they might be in the background, and the dog is right there with her.
Yep.
Okay. We can just keep moving.
Oh, this is another tarot card inspiration one, because the Hermit is usually, but as you said, you're doing the Bigfoot thing, so.
Yeah, and so.
It's like the Bigfoot is always like not seen, so I was thinking Hermit, Bigfoot, I don't know. I felt like it meshed
works.
Good.
If you just think about it this way, I mean, we've been living in a culture where Bigfoot has been part of the conversation for over 50 years, right? And then in the last 20, we have lots of people who go out squatching, right?
Yep.
And they're trying to find evidence of this creature. But if they found a creature like that, it would change all of humanity, don't you think?
Where would it fit in with, everybody's?
So it's important for it to remain a mystery.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they used to call UFOs, if there was an explanation. So, I mean, I'll stop after this, but I always thought of Bigfoot is kind of like the perfect representation of spring, hibernation ending, and people going out and enjoying life again.
Is that why you have it in March?
Yeah.
That makes sense then.
Well, there's a longer story, but I won't go into that now.
I have one more Bigfoot one. If you want to see that one. I don't know. Like I said, some of them are like stories, so it's like, what would Bigfoot be doing? I guess he would. when
Having
he's
a
out
tea
there.
party.
Maybe he has tea with the forest animals. I don't know. So.
Well, you put so much work in it to make it real. I mean, you're, all of that vegetation, and are those mushrooms magic, possibly?
Yeah, who knows, right?
And then your mountainscape, and
Thanks.
it's very fun.
Yeah, it's just fun.
So, what does your family think of your art?
My mom loves it. Because that just the fact that she doesn't care what I do as long as it's art. Like, she just loves having other artists in the family.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My father passed away, but he would have liked it too.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. We can, take our time, but keep moving.
Okay.
Want to talk about this large piece back
Sure.
here? I don't know if we can get that in. This is a perfect example of what you're talking about building
Absolutely.
the painting.
Yep. So yeah, when I started this piece, I just had the idea of I wanted to do a galaxy sky, and I wanted to do these rocks. And I was kicking around the idea of a tree, and then I put it in the middle, and then I didn't like that composition. I moved it over, and then I was like, something needs to be in the sky. So I thought, was like, what would be something different? Like, I don't want to put anything that's normally there. I wanted something different. And so, I don't know, I thought jellyfish just popped into my head, and then it sort of evolved into like this alien landscape of sea creatures on land and sea creatures in the sky and like a different landscape. So, I don't know, but it's kind of like builds on a story. I enjoy that though. That's like my favorite part, building on a idea.
Well, I mean, I was thinking it represents the four ancient elements, though, because you have
it really does.
You have the earth, and then the air, but then the water creatures, and then the galaxies represent fire in the background.
That's true. That's true.
So it's pretty intense. You have a cityscape that is not like any that we've ever seen. It's very evocative, and also putting faces on the creature kind of adds to the
It's a little whimsical,
effect.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one also, the large one back there, has all sorts of hidden messages in it, hidden creatures.
Yeah, like I grew up, I'm near the Bridgewater Triangle, so if you walk through the paths, I feel like you sometimes get an eerie feeling like you're getting watched, but I also think it's kind of beautiful and serene, even though I feel like maybe you're not completely alone. So I was trying to like recreate that feeling in this, because there's a beautiful tree on my path that I just really like trees for some reason. So I love that tree, so I was like trying to create it, and then I had the path, and then I wanted to put like things that were like sightings in Bridgewater.
I mean, you kind of have to briefly explain the Bridgewater Triangle, right?
Oh, okay.
It's like a lot of people, I don't know if everybody knows about that.
Oh, okay.
It's
an
that area in southern Massachusetts, right? That's bound by roads. I think it's Route 144.
Yeah, I'm not
Anyway,
like.
it's
I know
legendary.
that Taunton, in my area, like my house is like right in the middle, but it's like a lot of like, they say paranormal things happen during that.
Yeah, there are books about it. I think there was even a comic book series set there.
Yeah, and I think there's like a documentary and stuff.
So we got.
So that's where it comes from.
You got your skeleton creature.
Yeah, he's like a skinwalker and a puckwudgie, and a little troll up there, and I have some fairies and a Bigfoot. He's hiding in there too.
And way off in the background, some kind of pterodactyl.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, firebirds or whatever they call them.
cryptozoology.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. I really like, cryptids. To me, that's fun. That's like a lot, like you said, like the dark whimsy.
Yeah.
Like cryptids are cool and interesting, but they're still like, oh, they're spooky, I guess.
Yeah, they're not going to mess with you, but they're probably more scared of you than that you are of them.
Right.
And we have your
have
whale
some other
painting
stuff.
down
Oh
there.
yeah, this was in my whale. I listened to a podcast, and they were talking about a story that somebody was telling in whaling times, and they were saying that the story, one of the whalers said that he was swallowed by a whale,
Right.
and inside the belly of the whale, he saw the devil and a mermaid
Oh,
playing
wow.
cards for a
Okay.
human soul.
Oh,
And then I said,
wow.
wouldn't that be fun to create? So that was my version of it.
Well, I see treasure. I mean, obviously the human skull is a treasure too. What is that's a bell jar on their?
Yeah, and I mean that was my representation of like the human
Oh, the
soul that they're
soul.
playing for.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
So I don't know. I just thought it was kind of a cool, fun story. Like imagine you somehow get alive and swallowed by a whale, and you find this whole scene inside. I thought that was kind of fun.
What's that thing in the bottom right? The oh. Right
Oh
there.
yeah, I was just thinking like, what would be inside of a whale? So I was like, maybe it's like part of
Oh, a ship. I got
mast
you.
and
Yep,
like
yep,
a
yep.
sail.
Yep. Who was your model for the devil?
I just some random Pixabay guy that I was like tried into.
Wow. All right. All right.
I was just like, now he's red.
Well, we have time to fit a couple more in.
Okay,
Let's see
let's
how
do
we're
some more.
how we're doing.
Okay. And, this one's a little bit more darkly themed, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit more macabre.
Oh, is there a background for that?
No, I mean, I think it was Halloween time, and I was watching a lot of horror, and I really like Edgar Allan Poe, and I had seen something with Edgar Allan Poe, and that was like, I was inspired to do a Edgar Allan Poe feel to an art piece. All right, so this is sort of my idea of like bringing, like breathing, like the Gaia or like Earth bringing forth like seasons and the change of seasons.
Oh, breath of
As a
life.
breath of life, yeah.
Yep. With animals and vegetation represented, and you see winter and spring and summer
Yeah.
and fall all there.
Yep.
Very symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then down to the last one.
Yep, I have one more, and this was just like, this again is sometimes I just like want to see something exist. Like, so it's like, I was thinking of like that feeling of peace if you're in this forest and you're laying down and looking up at the trees, and then, and I love
I think there's a word for
dandelions.
that, but I don't think there's an English word for it.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. And the
Okay.
dandelion for just a wish.
All right, that brings us to the end of our conversation.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you as well.
And looking forward to getting your work shown.
Yeah, me
All right,
too. I
all
am
right.
too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks once again for showing up for another episode of Art Matters. I'll see you next time.